Welcome to Built Together, the podcast where design, technology, and leadership meet to shape the spaces where we work, learn, and connect in. In every episode, you'll hear from architects, engineers, technologists, and innovators who are breaking down the silos and rethinking how we create spaces that truly bring people together. Because great spaces aren't just about the plans or the tech, they're about the people. And it's what's possible when we build together. Thank you, and welcome to Build Together. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Built Together podcast. I am your host, Xavier Killer Kelly, and today I bring to you someone who is very special to the industry. And if you look at the modern timeline for collaboration, Sam Kennedy has been in the room for nearly every evolution of it. For over 28 years in the industry, working with the hardware titans of the industry, formerly at Polycom, where he helped define how the world connects through video, and at Crestron, where he led strategy for intelligent workplace, helping put millions of devices into boardrooms across the globe. He hasn't just watched the industry grow, he's actively shaped it. But recently, Sam made a pivot and he left the world of established hardware to join NetSpeek because he realized something critical. We built incredible rooms with eyes and ears for these rooms, but we forgot to give them a brain. Today, he is the EVP of Go-to-Market Strategy at NetSpeek, helping deploy Lena, an AI teammate designed to finally deliver on the promise of autonomous enterprise. Sam, welcome to Build Together. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to be here.
It's great to have you. You and I have had, a couple of conversations on Lena. It's obvious I'm super excited about what this product is and what it actually brings to collaboration. And so I want to kind of start with what would be, I guess, the elephant in the room, right? You spent decades with titans of hardware. You were at Poly, and then you were at Crestron, and you left the stability of that hardware side of AV to make a bet on an AI software platform, right? And I want to kind of speak to you about why that is. What was it that brought you to this point? What is it that you saw on the horizon that told you hardware may not be enough?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I took a big leap off of a cliff to join a startup, and what's led me here is a couple of things. Number one, there are a lot of challenges that a lot of my customers that I've been talking. Being in the industry for so long, in the roles that I spent a lot of time talking to the end customers who actually are using these products and supporting these products, as well as the integrators and MSPs. And as a person who's been involved in helping build a lot of the core products that people are using today, I think that there is this perception that the technology just doesn't work, right? I think that we hear a lot, and we hear often that just from the end users themselves of just being afraid to use the technology. So while we've come light years over my career and how simple it is, I still think that while collaboration technologies are core to most organizations, it's still not functioning at a high enough percentage that there's still challenges. And when one of the pieces that are in a room, that are in a space that don't work, it is an exponential how many people are affected in that moment. And so the product's not working well enough together as a complete solution has been a problem that's plagued the industry for a very long time. And we're in this moment in time right now that is special. I think of where we are right now is similar to where in the early 2000s of when internet and .com and all that was starting to take shape, that we're in that early infancy as well in this time right now. And so what we're doing, and what I took the leap off of the cliff to participate in, is to take advantage of this moment in time and take advantage of AI and what AI can represent, and bring that to solve a challenge that has existed in the industry for many, many years. And so we're able to now solve problems in a way that could never have been our wildest dreams to solve years ago, even a couple, 2 or 3 years ago. I was fortunate enough to get a couple of key partners that I'm working with to build this company to take advantage and be able to leverage our expertise, our relationships that we've built over the years with different vendors and customers and partners, and pull all of these different technologies together. So it's leverage all the expertise that we've built in the industry along with this moment in time around AI, pull it all together and start to solve problems in a brand new way. I think of the last couple of years, it's AI has really been focused more around specifically the end, like us, it's been very individualized. And so what we're doing is taking advantage of the AI and starting to verticalize it to solve very specific problems to keep the rooms and the technologies up and running in a brand new way, in a more multi-vendor way that we think again will help shape the future.
Yeah, I think that the future is 100% a the multi-vendor future, right? But I think it would be impossible not to notice that we are seeing some consolidation in the industry. Now, that consolidation isn't necessarily like a part for part kind of consolidation, but it's more of, I think, the industry understanding that the future needs to be one where things start to speak to one another, right? Like no matter what the room is, it needs to function in a seamless and kind of autonomous way, right? I mentioned it before, the whole autonomous enterprise thing, and that could sound like a cliche kind of like buzzword, but it's true. Like we need to be able to operate or walk in a room without having to operate and orchestrate the room. And then we shouldn't have to worry about whether or not that room is going to do what it needs to do. And I think you speak about how AI is impacting AV. And it's so funny that like for the longest time, like hardware was what made AV integrators special. It's what made different companies special. And like software was this thing that started to kind of take off in a totally adjacent field, but it was still the same thing. It was still tech. And if you ever ask somebody like, what field do you work in? And they say tech, like you don't think AV naturally, right? But like when you look at like what the next step I think for our industry is going to be, and it's like that solving problems in a different way. Like the problem that I can look at is like, okay, so we have like a 4K camera, we have like beamforming microphones, world class DSPs, but like when that room breaks down, you're still sending a van out, you're still sending someone out to reboot that processor, right? And it's all of this really high end, high performing technical equipment, but it's very I don't want to say primal with how we with how we fix these issues. But it is right. In so many ways, you still have to send a person out to do things, and so like I love the idea of AI and what it brings to the table when it comes to our daily lives and the way it's impacting us and how it's simplifying things. But I think that in our world, maybe especially hardware, I think is it fair to say like it's sensor rich, but like intelligence poor, and like how does NetSpeak kind of close like that gap?
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. The reality is that there is no one single vendor who solves all problems in all spaces. And what I hear from the end customers often or like every day is that they're trying to enable as much technology in as many spaces inside of their organization as possible in order to when employees are in the office, you want to give them the best possible experience. You want to give them the best tools available. So the reality of that is there's going to be multiple vendors just throughout a building, throughout a floor, throughout a room. There's just going to be lots of different technologies and lots of different products all working together. I think the challenge that we faced in the past is that the industry has been built on a lot of complexity, and the industry has been somewhat rewarded to be built on complexity. And moving forward, what organizations are looking for is the ability to scale the support of these spaces. They're looking for more. I think, we've seen the trend over the last Just like looking at the calendar, the last 8, 9 years of driving video bars and simplicity. And, I think a main driver for that has been just the operational support of these spaces. It's simpler to deploy, it's simpler to support these spaces. And while the end customers, the actual end users may need more technologies and spaces, the operational complexity has driven down organizations deploying as much technology as they'd ultimately like to. And I think part of the challenge is just that there's lots of disparate technologies, and the tools that have existed today don't pull it all together in any type of way. And so a platform like ours, and what we're trying to do, is be able to build, leverage AI to be able to take all these disparate technologies and all these disparate tools and all these disparate languages and pull them together and provide a seamless experience from the operational perspective. I think one of the things I hear often from customers is they're looking for a single pane of glass. And I do the air quotes there because, like, I don't know that they're necessarily asking for a single pane of glass. What they're looking for is tools that can communicate with all of these different technologies together simultaneously and be able to deliver what my end users need when they need it. And from an administrator perspective, I don't necessarily, we talk internally about even the concept of a dashboard is kind of an antiquated thing. I don't necessarily need to see, we kind of joke like a Christmas tree. I don't need to see online or offline. Everything should always be online. Of course it should always be online. And things should always be working. As an administrator, I just have to expect that everything's working together the way my users expect it to be working together. And if it's not, it needs to self-heal. And if it can't, then I need to be alerted and told. And now I, as the human being, can go fix that. That is, I think, the expectations from organizations right now. And the tool that we're trying to build actually delivers upon that. And we're just getting started. It's still very early, but that's our goal. And we're already starting to deliver upon that promise of the ability to be able to pull all of these different things together so that users can just use the technology in a very simplified way, and they don't have to ever think about it. And the uptime can be higher, operational costs drop, and everybody wins. And so I think that by leveraging AI in this new way, it enables this that just you could never have been able to do this in the past.
Yeah, and I think that like a large part of why it's been a challenge is because from a I don't want to I would say from a programming standpoint, a lot of organizations wanted to ensure that their devices were locked into their own ecosystems. That's the way you get sticky, right? As a manufacturer within an organization, to have all of these different peripheral devices that only kind of work within your ecosystem, and it made a lot of sense. But I think that in so many ways it pigeonholed end users. But where I saw it pigeonholing folks was actually even on the integration side, right? If you meet an integrator or you go to you meet design team or whatever that may be, and you talk to them and you're like, hey, well, there's this new product that's coming out, or this new thing that's happening, and they're like, well, we're a Crestron house, or we're a QSys house, and they play favorites in that way because the technology speaks to one another so well. And what that does is, in so many ways, it adds comfort to the designing of the system. Where I see something kind of cool happening with products like Lena, with AI being involved in a lot of some of the back end programming, is I see a world where designers, administrators, managed services providers, where they are more comfortable with not only implementing the technology, but understanding that they can have the peace of mind that the gear itself is going to collaborate. We talk about collaborations from a human standpoint, but we rarely ever see how we have mixed up where the technology should also collaborate. And this competitive advantage, I think, it plays a large role in that. But it's interesting to see how Lena is kind of looking at that differently, how NetSpeak is looking at that differently. And I said Lena a few times, and I think that it's only fair to have you kind of explain what Lena is, right? I think I just
Yeah.
kind of stated it and didn't really give you a chance to explain it to folks. And so I think everyone kind of speaks about having AI today, right? Like AI is a big buzzword. It's being thrown around in so many different facets in every industry, not just our own. But can you speak to like what Lena is and what makes Lena unique and not just a chatbot that I
Yeah.
think that some organizations have.
Yeah, so Lena is a verticalized. So again, I work for NetSpeek is the company name. Our product is called Lena, Lena. Lena stands for Language Enabled Network Administrator. And what Lena is a verticalized AI platform that automates we call it an AI orchestration platform that helps the administrative support of AV, UC, and digital signage. And so we're really targeting those three verticals to build this platform out. And I think what sets NetSpeak apart versus any tool that exists today or has existed over the last few years is Lena is an AI platform that we are building around versus what we're seeing in the industry right now is these traditional more monitoring tools starting to try and enable AI on top of it. So we have the benefit of taking advantage of not having any technical debt and just starting now and being able to this moment in time to be able to help support organizations to keep the technologies up and running. So think of Lena. We call it we call it an administrator, but we think of it as an assistant that can answer deep technical questions, can manipulate and control the devices that are in the room, can solve. We have certain use cases that we've built where Lena can say run a room check or a health check of a space to actually look at the technologies in the room or we get wherever the technologies may live. Um, and be able to look at it as a complete system. We often get compared to, say, Lena gets compared to, say, a monitoring tool, right? So a traditional monitoring tool may say, okay, I have 5 devices in this room and they're all online right now. So therefore, the room must be functioning correctly. But with Lena, if the use case is for that particular moment in time, is one of those pieces needs to be working in a different way, Lena can help make sure that a room is functioning correct. So Lena not just looks, are all 5 of these devices online, but are they working in the application in the way that my users are expecting? So it's not just monitoring the devices of uptime of are they online or not. It's actually looking at the application and how people are functionally using the product. And then again, if it's not, it can automatically put this in place and put the technology in the room working functionally how the end users would want it. And that's really the shift that's happening for what we're doing within the industry is leveraging APIs, SDKs, and taking the technologies on all the devices, putting them together and not just telling me again online, offline, but really looking at it almost like at a higher level on the stack of how these products are functioning together as a complete system within a space.
When I think about the AV industry and just my time in integration, I think that what we do as an industry and as individuals professionally, right? I don't think that this is just true for AV. I think it's true across the board. But we operate with like shared fictions, right? And these shared fictions are the stories that we've been told from other people's experience in the industry or the stories that we kind of lived through. And oftentimes, I think when something is introduced to us that kind of changes that shared fiction, there's naturally this like reserve to say like, oh, should I trust this new story that I'm telling myself? And it was funny because when you and I had a conversation, I mean, what was that? Like a few weeks ago, I was helping a friend of mine with a design and his company is here in the States, and the company that he was designing for was a company that was in another country. And his biggest concern in while we were going through this kind of design was he was recognizing the talent gap between the teams that that could be deployed here in the United States, and then the teams that could be deployed in this other country. The funniest thing was it wasn't that it needed to be this extremely like top tier engineering team, but more that the functionality at some of the simpler levels, like the simpler more, I guess I say simpler, at the level of like 101, if this thing goes down, these are the first things to check. Or like, just like the kind of some of the simple aspects of troubleshooting and operations. And like it's like gear, especially if you value engineer technology, gear to be made to work on paper, but what you do sometimes when you value engineer products is that it may work on paper, but now the technical prowess of the programmers or the technicians on the other side, like that has to go way up because they have to figure out how to troubleshoot these issues once it fails. It's not it, right? It's a once it's when it's a when it fails. And so many companies choose not to take on certain projects or not to do certain things because they simply feel like we can't get our people there if it goes down. Something like Lena, to me, when I think about what this product, what it can do like today, and then obviously what it's going to be able to do in the future. I feel like something like Lena kind of like solves that problem or that issue, right? Because now, as long as from a manufacturer standpoint, kind of speaking for myself, right? As long as we have the information available and given to an organization like Lena from a training standpoint of how we can train the model or train people out in the field, those, I guess I hate to say simple. I don't think anything is simple. But those kind of basic troubleshooting issues become issues that you no longer have to worry about. And you really only have to like send someone on a team if it's like an extreme kind of case, right? And I guess if I were to say like I kind of want to play a bit of a game here, like a 3 a.m. scenario, right? Because we've all come across this, especially in integration. If those are the people who will be listening to this are in integration, but it's 3 a.m. You have like a critical boardroom processor that locks up, and like the old scenario, like old world, what kind of happens in that scenario, right?
I
Takes
mean, in
place.
my well, so by the way, this is exactly what we're building Lena near to, like Lena 1.0 is to focus and what we build in 2026 is very much focus on that level 1, level 2 support to cut out the noise on those more simplified. Yes, again, as you said, it's like you hate to say simple, but those, if we can cut the noise on the bottom 10, 20, 30% of tickets, then and issues, then your smart people can focus on the more difficult, complex and designing new spaces and supporting new spaces. And so, I mean, what you're saying is exactly right. And I think of, if I was your point of what's a workflow of where organizations are today, I think for some organizations, there's a issue with one of the pieces in a room, in a space. A lot of what happens today is the users walk in at 9 a.m. for their meeting and they're having a failed experience, right? I think for certain rooms, for certain organizations, that's just the reality is that people walk in. Now, other organizations may have, and again, they run room sweeps or room checks or whatever you want to call the name. Their users or they may have, say, I hear this a lot in higher education, but I think it's relevant in all sorts of verticals. But they may have students or like people that walk in the morning, say 8:30. The meeting start at 9, but they have somebody that walks in, and so they've made at 8:30 catch that something's frozen in the room, and now it's okay. What do I do now? So they may go to 10 rooms, 9 of them everything's functioning correctly, so they just wasted their time for 9 of those rooms, and then finally on the 10th room they find the problem, and now from there, then you start the troubleshooting. I think other customers, may have some monitoring tools that might have sent an alert at 3 in the morning, but the people supporting these spaces might not get in there. So, the reality is that there is nothing that's really self-healing in the spaces right now. And that 3 a.m. issue really for most organizations, again, some may have a alert, it may go to the MSP. Now they're trying to figure out how to solve it, maybe somebody overnight. So I think that there's varying levels of where organizations are, but the problem is with traditional monitoring, I may see something went offline, but now I have to get humans involved to intervene to go and try and solve it. And there's just this huge time gap. And for too many organizations, that time gap means that room's going to be down for some period of time. And that's again a real problem and real world that everybody's facing today.
No, I mean it's a real problem. It's a real problem. And when you think about it, like if I look at monitoring today, I feel as though like room monitoring or managed services, I feel like it's just like a very technical way of giving yourself anxiety because you get the alert like, oh hey, this room is down. But then you realize I can't send somebody until 6. This meeting, the critical meeting starts at 7. Now you go from managing change or managing an issue to trying to like prevent the blow up that ultimately is going to happen, right? Even if it's just like the technology, it's just like a technical issue. Who's going to get the blame for that, right? The system goes
Yeah,
down.
can I interrupt you really quick? So
Sure, sure,
again,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think
no
in
problem.
like it's weird to say that I mean, we still talk about this today, but there used to be traditional AV teams and they've now been pulled into generalized IT. And so who's getting that ticket overnight? It's typically going to be just some generalized IT person who has no context and no understanding of how these rooms are working together. And so now you're asking someone who there's no expertise in this area, and therefore they're either afraid to touch it because they're like I've never been trained on any of this. It's so nuanced. I'm just not going to touch it. I'm now going to have to wait for my experts to come in. And then the expert comes in and they're like, oh, if you just would have rebooted it, it would have all been fine. Right. Like
Right.
that, I hear all the time of I have to send experts to go drive a couple of hours to go fix a problem that just was something simple. It just was a reboot. And so that's the real problem. Like those are real world challenges that we're all facing within our industry. And so that's where, again, a tool like Lena that can identify and support the generalized IT to be able to solve some of these problems ups the quality, again, it removes that bottom 10, 20%. If Lena can identify, and like when Lena identifies, okay, this is more than just a reboot, you're gonna need your experts to go in there, then I can have my smart people focused in certain areas versus just, again, where we are today. I don't want to bring in an expert just to identify that it's something small. Maybe it's a small setting. Maybe it's I mean, one of the demos I show all the time, I do this like ad nauseum, but I think it's just so effective, is the monitor being on the wrong input or the display being on the wrong input. It's such a universal challenge that affects all levels, but it impacts the perception of quality within our industry. And so being able to solve that bottom 10, 20%, not that that's all we can solve for, by the way, but again, like that we're starting there and trying to help that bottom 10, 20%, 30% of issues that just scales. Again, 10, 20% of millions of rooms is just huge times and cost savings. And when we do that, then it enables people to focus on the more major problems, which enables, like you said it earlier, and it really resonates with me because I hear it with customers all the time, is they're afraid to put in more technology in spaces because they don't have the operational expertise. So if you can remove the noise, that allows organizations to focus on the right tools for the right spaces. And that's really what we're putting our time and effort into, what we're building with Lena.
Yeah, I feel like, in a perfect implementation, we are moving towards a world where that initial kind of low level help desk ticket goes extinct, right? And where a client doesn't have to ask for help because technically help arrived yesterday. And I think that's a beautiful world. And so, like, not to get too philosophical here, but I believe firmly in organizations do better and are more profitable when the people that are talented and passionate are able to, utilize their talents on things that they're passionate about. I don't know an engineer. I don't know anyone who is a creative in any space, whether it's technical or design or otherwise, that wants to deal with like a small help desk ticket or like, like something. So
They don't
especially
wanna
if you're dealing
focus
with,
on basic things. Give me
yeah, they
challenges.
don't. They don't. And if it's a huge enterprise, you're getting a lot of those things, right? And it's taking up so much time. So I feel like this just like if people are kind of like, oh, well, from a trust standpoint, like trusting AI, is the AI going to take a job? Or if anything, I feel like it just gives people the ability to truly flourish at the things that they do really well. And then it takes that mundane kind of day to day stuff and it eliminates it. Obviously, those problems are always going to happen, right? But it just makes it more, it's easier to navigate. Let's just say that. And
Yeah,
so,
I
like,
could not agree I could not agree more that Lena is not gonna I mean, at least and I mean this, like, in the general sense, like, not just us, right? Like, the AI of what we're trying to solve for in this space is not gonna remove jobs. If anything, it's gonna probably add jobs because what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna be more confident in rolling out more complicated spaces, more technologies and spaces. Like, you said it you mentioned it earlier around a multi-vendor and that I've had to standardize on a single vendor for certain things in the past because operationally I could only support one vendor. Well, now I can start to look at more vendors because I have a tool that pulls all of that together. What I believe and what we're to build at a core of what our company at NetSpeak's trying to build here with Lena is that we can enable more spaces, that we can enable more technology so organizations will feel more comfortable rolling out technology into more spaces than they ever have before. So who wins here? I think everyone in our industry wins, right? The end well, I'd say the manufacturers win because they can start to roll out technology into more spaces. The integrators win because there's still like, you still need to go and do installations. You still need to design all of these things. There's still going to be complicated spaces that are going to need a lot of these technologies. But the cores, the end customers are the ones who win because now they get to leverage technology in all sorts of new ways and all sorts of new spaces. So, like, really, what we're trying to build is a tool that enables for the true scale that we've gotten. I think there's been these moments in time where the industry has made huge. Again, being doing this for almost 30 years, I've seen huge transitions from ISDN to IP to immersive telepresence, and desktop video was not a thing when I started. So again, it tells my age, but I've seen these huge leaps and, COVID obviously helped with just this proliferation, but I think AI is now starting to enable this new level of automation and support in these spaces that is going to be able to take our industry to a whole other level. And I think that puts us it's not gonna take people's jobs. What it's gonna do is gonna make the people that are supporting these spaces more valuable inside of their organization, is gonna enable the vendors and the MSPs who are supporting these spaces to have more relevance, to be able to enable more spaces, and that's again, you asked earlier, like why did I leave hardware and move to a software company, right? That's what really drives me is that I think what we're building with this platform is everyone wins within our industry because we're solving this universal problem that has plagued us for years. And man, it's really fun to be part of that.
I mean, it's really fun to be in the software world in general.
It
I think
is.
that there's so much that's happening and creativity changes not only value propositions, right, but how we prove value. And I think that what software is allowing for integrators to do is to shift from proving value with like incident reports to proving value with success reports and actually being more proactive and joining and really becoming a creative partner with the organizations that they are going into these huge installations with. Instead of it being like one where they're always fixing problems, it's one where they're creating new solutions or thinking of interesting ways that technology can collaborate in an environment or that organization can collaborate. You're spending your time thinking about ways to create rather than ways to put out
It
fires.
is
And so
such a
I like that.
great I love how you worded that. Like, because I like 100% agree, right? You're able
Yeah.
to enable people to I'm not handcuffed in a way that I was in the past. It's like, what are the right solutions? What are the right tools? What are the right products for my end users? And I can now get creative in a way that I could just never do before. And what an exciting time and what innovations are we going to start to be able to see that are going to come out of this And again, just being one little cog that's going to help again, even if we're just focusing and like we're solving a lot of those problems that enable all these people to be able to do all sorts of new, cool, fun things. Like, wow, like it's that's why I say I feel like we're in this dawn of, I know everyone talks about AI and how it's going to impact and change the world. Like, I love all that, right? But I think within our industry, we're finally starting to kind of, I think we're helping lead this, but I think throughout the industry, it's going to be very exciting over the next few years of what new innovations and what new ways that people put these things together because they can focus on the cool, fun stuff and stop worrying about the noise.
I feel like you've helped build the last like 20 years of AV, right? On the hardware side, you've been a part of some of the most impactful organizations. If we think about the things that Poly has done, Crestron has done, right? Like insane. It truly is. I mean, those are both excellent organizations. And having been a part of the industry for so long, can you paint the picture of what the next like 5 years looks like, right? If NetSpeak wins and the model becomes a standard, like what does the office of 2030 actually like feel like to the humans that are working in it? Because it becomes a more human-centered uh, process all around, not just a design process, but experience process, right? Where you all
Yeah,
are headed with the opposite.
it's always, painting the future is always, a challenge. And yeah, I've
Yeah.
been lucky enough. The positions that I've been in have been very lucky to be around a lot of smart people who build a lot of cool things. Again, looking at the date, right? 2030. Okay, so 5 years. What I think we're on the dawn of is this true automation at a whole other level that we just have never been able to experience before. Like, right now, when think of the different, what as Lena's trying to solve for, it's AV, UC, digital signage. Now we're starting there because we know the industry really well. We understand the problems. We understand the companies really well. But because we just think about what does our future look like, it's very much beyond just those verticals. Getting, building, when we think about it, being able to tie not just AV, UC, digital signage together, but building management, security, other technologies, and pulling them all together and in a brand new way. When people first, they go to our website, I think they look at us as just another monitoring tool. But we describe ourselves as an AI orchestration platform. What we mean by that is the ability to pull in all these disparate technologies within a vertical, outside a vertical, within multiple verticals, and pulling all that different technology together in a way so that it really becomes science fiction. So that when I walk into a building, when I walk into a room, the technology understands that Sam walked in and that I want the temperature to be this way and I want the lighting to be this way. But then I walk out and I'm in the hallway and I'm able to, the digital signage is going to know that I'm there. This next level of automation, I think, is something that you can just see it starting to come together. It's still relatively early on. Organization, the manufacturers are starting to very much embrace AI. They're very much embracing the idea of APIs and enabling these level of tools. But, as I see what 5 years looks like is this next level of automation and what we would have thought it, even in our industry, who are kind of leading all of this. I see just, again, it's going to feel like science fiction in the next 5 years of just innovation within automation within our spaces and kind of our adjacent spaces. So it's just getting started. I think, again, as I said, we're kind of the tip of we're just getting started. And in our vision, that's the world, is pulling all these disparate technologies together in a new automated way that is going to deliver the experiences to these end users that they've always wanted. They demand, like, I always want I want the room, and I get in my car, my car knows that I'm driving and puts everything the way I want it to be. When my wife gets in the car, it does the exact same, right? It modifies itself for her. That's a future that's very near term. I think that's well before 5 years from now. But I think that's going to become the standard. I think there's been ways to do that in the past, but not in any kind of scalable way. As we look at the next couple of years, that's just going to become the standard.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think that in one of my past interviews with Kay Sargent at HOK, she mentioned to me, she said that humans have always been really good at predicting technology well, right? But where we miss is like the human experience within that technology. It's a beautiful time to be alive because there is so much change. And I think that the way that AI is not just AI, but the way that we're thinking now, the way that we're designing now, it's giving the human creative more time to be just that. And that's what we are. Right? Humans are creators, right? And the more time we spend on thinking of things to create, I think the better the world becomes. And there's been so much time, I think, throughout history where we focus on these little nitpicky tasks that take away creativity. And so we're getting a lot of that back. And I thank you for taking the time, Sam, to meet with us and to speak with me on this. And obviously, you can see I'm excited about what NetSpeak is doing and what it means for the industry, and ultimately what it means for the people that I care about, which is our end users, right? The people that are experiencing this technology every day. I think we're fortunate to have thought leaders like yourself in the industry doing the things that you do, and so I appreciate you and thank you for taking your time to speak with me today here on the Built Together
My
podcast.
pleasure. Again, of course, it's appreciate your partnership, and again, I agree. It's a really exciting time to be part of the industry and where we're going, and being in technology. We're really lucky to be able to take advantage of this moment in time. So I appreciate you having me.
Sam, if people wanted to reach out to you or wanted to find you, where could they find you?
So if you're interested in what we're doing, I would encourage everybody to go to netspeak.ai, our website. That's at Netspeak with two E's. So NetSpeek.ai. You could add Lena on LinkedIn. Or of course you could always reach out to me, Sam at Netspeak, or Sam Kennedy on LinkedIn. So appreciate it. Would love to be able to continue the conversation with anyone and everyone.
Yeah, and if you reach out to Sam, you're listening to this, just make sure you say Xavier sent you, right? So that Sam
Yes, please do.
knows. So that Sam knows. No, just kidding. All right, man. Well, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.